are not necessarily those of the participating radio stations, participants, or sponsors. WGCI FM Chicago, WPWX FM Hammond Chicago, WSRB Lansing Chicago, WYRB Genoa Rockford DeKalb, WVAC Oak Park Chicago, and WVON Berwyn Chicago. Welcome to the Sunday Night One Mic. Put the guns down. For the next 2 hours, it's your chance to speak out and share your solutions to gun violence in our community. We're taking your calls at 866-594-4673. That's 866-594-4673. And now, here's your host for the evening, ABC7's Evelyn Holmes.
Indeed, welcome to our Sunday night open mic night, addressing the citywide violence issue and the preventative nature of the Put the Guns Down initiative. It's an initiative that is a partnership of sorts between radio stations here in the city as well as the city of Chicago. We have some distinguished guests here to talk about this violence initiative, preventing it, as well as to talk about their views, what they think. And what's really important is your input into this. As you listen, you have ideas, you have thoughts. Maybe you've experienced violence, live in a neighborhood plagued by violence, or maybe you just like to learn more about what you can do as an individual to help prevent violence. Joining us today, our esteemed mayor, Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel, is here.
Thank you.
We also have other esteemed guests to bring a different and unique perspective to this discussion and this issue. We have Tori Barrett, who is the director of Clio Community Life Center.
Thanks, Evelyn.
We also have Frankie Robinson from Power 92.
Absolutely.
All right. Joe Soto, V103. Joe.
Evelyn, you look great as
Well,
always.
thank you.
Very sexy.
So-
SESY.
Should I make the check out to you, or is there a charity, or what's that about? Mike Love, so 106.3. How are you? Tony Sco, 107.5 WGC. Hi.
That's right. Put the guns down, Chicago.
All right. Matt McGill unable to join us this evening, but filling in is Demita. Well, I'm sorry.
I'll help you out with that. Doma T. Punga.
Doma T. That's it. I always get around. I could just pick a name for you, like Sweetie, Honey Pie.
I like it.
Okay, there we go. And he's the morning news anchor at 1690 WVON.
I'm not going to call him Honey Pie.
Yeah, you don't have to. We don't have to do that. But I think one thing we do need to do is, and what I would love to do, is just to get a brief perspective from everyone of kind of where we are. Remember, we are about, I guess, really like almost a month out when we announced this, the initiative of Put the Guns Down. Since then, for those of you who are kind of keeping up with this, since then, remember, we did have an evening where there was no gun violence.
Yes.
No one shot, no one killed.
Yep.
Which should be celebrated. Mayor, talk a little about just kind of where you are with things. I think people think about gun violence. Is this and I'll put it right out there, is this a black problem, a gang problem, or a city problem?
City, C, not A, not B, it's C. It's a citywide problem. If we think of it as only parts of the city, then we're not using all the force and all the strength of what we need to do to deal with violence.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason I wanted the other night, when I asked everybody, that night you talked about, that 24-hour, 48-hour period of time, pull everybody together, and we're going to do it again right before 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
It was an empowering moment for for everybody involved, and the sense that you can actually have an impact in your neighborhood and community. I don't want Roseland to think that Ravenswood doesn't care about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want Englewood to think that Edgewater is not concerned if a child is shot in Englewood. And it's a citywide problem that requires a citywide response. And obviously certain neighborhoods and communities are more affected than others.
Mm-hmm.
That's a reality. We know that. But it doesn't mean that we don't bring all the resources to bear from the city onto it.
And Mayor, you've always talked about, I remember the press conference that you had about a month ago talking about the P's, parenting, the prevention, the police, and also pop culture. Tori, talk to me about just the community's perspective, what involvement they have, because a lot of folks always say, well, I'm doing my part, but the police ought to be here, or so-and-so, it's someone else's problem.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you start off that way. The community gets involved because the children are getting involved. So for a kid it's difficult when you tell a kid what to do. A lot of times the kids want to understand, hey, come to me when you're creating a program so that we can help you help us. And so the things for, at least around the Clio Center, the community itself has to own that. They have to say, don't tell a kid what you want the kid to do. Invite that kid in and help that kid help you create the program. Once you do that, now the kids feel like they're part of the solution as a part of being talked to.
Okay,
So-
right. Now, Joe, we've had interesting conversations about some of the components of violence and violence prevention. Talk about, as someone who is on the radio, talk about the images, the perceptions, what's being pushed from that perspective, music or what role does that play?
I'm blessed to be part of V103, and we are music intensive. We play, in my estimation, pretty wholesome music. It's old school music, and we don't have the problems of some of the lyrics that you hear in some other on some other artists' music. So that's not really our. Even though that is important, that is not what our angle. Our angle is to get the word out. We talk about one city, one voice, one message every day, countless times a day. And we get a lot of feedback on Facebook and Twitter where we're just putting the message out. I'm a kid from Little Village.
Okay.
I know about gangs. I was shot 1990. And so I know firsthand how difficult it is to recover from that. So, and then I'm blessed in the regard that I'm still here.
Right.
Because, my situation was not good. But some of these kids don't have a chance,
Yeah.
One bullet and they're gone. And that's where me and my partner Ramonski Love on the air, we talk about, and everybody on B103 for that matter, we talk about, hey, it's about you, it's about your family. Put the guns down. And if we save one person, we did our job.
Yeah, because we're all connected, and that's one thing that we all have to understand is there is no such thing as isolation.
Right.
There is a
Good
ripple
job.
effect. There is a ripple effect. Doma T, tell me about your perspective as someone who deals with the news. What is the media's role in this? What do we peddle?
We need to start championing kids who are doing what they need to do. So often,
That's right.
what makes the front page is what's the most salacious thing. Who got shot in Inglewood today? Who got shot in Chatham? How many times are we talking about the mayor was there, that high school where 100% graduation rate, all African American young men. How many times are we making that the message that we're projecting out there? Sometimes I don't know if the media does a good enough job of showing black faces in a positive light. And it does make a difference to the kids that read these papers and to the parents that read these papers and say that my son can be one of those kids as well.
Tony, what do you think? I know that we talked about a month ago, had some kind of I wouldn't say it was an intense, but it certainly was focused conversation about the role of pop culture. A lot of folks say the music you hear nowadays, let's say on a GCI, rap, is reflective of people's experience. How do you differentiate between someone talking about their experience through song versus peddling a fantasy that is going to end up creating more violence and dissension?
It's a battle that we're fighting out there in the streets, that we hear it all the time. But my take on it is that there's been negative music around for years. I mean, our parents, the music that we grew up with, our parents thought was negative. Their parents thought their music was negative. So I think that in between the music and in between the songs, the parenting and the community has to be there. I mean, I face the battle all the time, but this is today's music. This is the popular music. This is the music that the young artists are making, and they're telling their stories, and I think that they have a right to tell their stories and tell the things that they're seeing and experiencing out there. But I think we as a community and a village, we need to offset that message. There should be no message in your household that gets through stronger than yours as a parent and as a community. And there are people who say, well, what about the families that don't have the strong parenting there? Well, that's when the community has to step up. The village has to step up. The uncles have to step up. The neighbors have to step up. And I think that, us as stations coming together, putting this message out there, put the guns down, and we're uniting. I think that the city needs to get behind us instead of being cynical. get behind us and let your voice be heard along with ours.
Evelyn, can I say,
Sure,
say that?
sure.
One is, we met in the office, pulled all the DJs together, and it came out of a meeting we had at the bottom of Father Mike Flager's church, a bunch of community activists, and we were talking about what we could do, and two things that came out of it. Just 30 people sitting around. And it was after that horrible Easter weekend. And one was pulling everybody together on a single message, consistent, one voice, one message, one city, put the guns down. The second thing was the call of prayer and action on that Friday before Memorial Day that we had 42 hours, no gun violence. And those are the things that came out of community coming together and actually getting empowered that you can make a difference, which is why so many more now want to do it right before the 4th of
No
July.
doubt about it. And I want to go from what Tony talked about. Mike, talk about just the difference. He's talking about the negative. We've always had negative music. But why do you think it is that we have the degree of violence that we have now? I mean, what's different? Is it technology? We moving fast?
You know
Are people
something?
angry?
Yeah.
That too.
I think the way the information moves, the way we get information makes it worse because, it's on everyone's timeline now. Like I have 5,000 Facebook friends, so I'm going to see the best and the worst of what is going on in the community right now. And I did some research, and when I looked into it, Chicago, even though the city had a population of 3.5 million in the 70s, the number one most violent year as far as homicides are concerned was 1974, where the city had 970 homicides. And, you look at now, 2013, where the city had 415, like, you can't imagine that type of number today. Like,
900, wow.
yeah, it would be ridiculous. So people are always talking about how it's worse, and it's just worse how we get the information.
That's right.
The way it's spread and the way that the media tells us now. Like, yeah. Like, we never used to find out how many people were shot. I'm going through my Twitter feed, and, someone from ABC7 is like, oh, no one got shot today. So hard to believe. And I could pull up the actual quote. But when we are to the point where now we know when people are shot every day, now we're just so inundated with the violence. Not just now we know how many people are killed all the time, but it's like now we know like anytime someone is shot, and that information has always been out there because you can look it up, year after year after year. How did this person die? Oh, they died from gunshot wounds. So now they're just telling us how many people got shot. Like, yes, it is bad in the streets, but it is not. It has been worse. It has been much worse. But again, because of the way that information spread and people, and it's not just the media, because now you people on Facebook are.
That leads me to the next question. I'm going to direct this to Frankie because we've talked about this as well. Is that we talk about media, but as you say, we've got Facebook now,
right?
Twitter, Instagram. Talk about how we get back to a level of civility that used to exist. I mean, because my father is, in his 80s.
Right.
He said he used to be in a gang before he went off to the Army. But they weren't doing the kind of stuff they're doing now.
Right. As a mom, I look at first the parenting perspective. You got to think about it like this. We're in an age where we have 30-year-old women, no father in the household, raising 15 and 16-year-old young men. So essentially, the young man takes on the role of the father. Work ethic is different. I tend to see a lot of young women who are mothers and who are parents who don't want to work. I'm not stereotyping, but I'm telling you from my perspective what I see.
Right.
Therefore, if the 16, 17, 15-year-old son goes out, starts selling dope, he's bringing money in the house, he takes on essentially the role of the father in the household. You see a breakdown in parenting. People are not intact with their children how they used to be. People also don't interfere in parenting. Like Tony said earlier, I want to echo that. It takes a village to raise a child. I knew in my neighborhood when I came up, there was gangs. It was gangs. It's always been gangs in Chicago.
Sure.
But I knew that I couldn't do something because Miss Stevens would see something and tell my mom, or Miss Newell would see something and tell my mom. It's a breakdown in the whole family.
I understand what you're saying.
Right,
It's a
structure. It's a family structure.
It's a family structure, but it's
Nobody
also
wants to be
a sense of
involved.
responsibility
Absolutely.
and investment in
And
the
it's
community.
a thing of fear too. A lot of people are scared of the youth. They are afraid of these kids.
Absolutely.
and understandably so in some cases.
Understandably so, but I'm not afraid, and I think because of the fact that I talk to them, whereas they can relate, and I don't lecture them. If you come to these kids today with your finger out and you lecture them, you're gonna get nowhere. First of all, we're dealing with a society of kids whose self-esteem, the majority of them, is so low that you have to build them up before you can say anything to them because they're so defensive. So we're dealing with a whole different type of kid these days. These kids are different. They're being exposed to a whole lot of different stuff. You got 12-year-olds with tattoos and cell phones. You got 10-year-olds with tattoos and cell phones. Things that the culture is different. The kids are different. So you have to approach them differently. Then you also have to think about it like this. These kids are doing a whole lot way more drugs and different kind of drugs that affect their way of thinking than what we've ever seen.
Right.
Right.
I understand.
So that plays a major part.
No doubt about it. Mayor, talk about a little bit about, is there a credibility gap? I think back in the day, police officers were respected. They were seen as folks you could go to. How do you fix that? What's the issue?
Yeah.
I know that there have been some issues. There have been some media reports about fudging of numbers when it comes to shootings and homicides and things along those lines. What I'm saying is that all contributes to a credibility gap. Talk about that.
First of all, before I get there, I want to say this. In the last 5 minutes, we've had a more honest discussion of what contributes to this and the pervasiveness and the role of parenting than I've seen in the last 3 years. Just in the last 5 minutes, a more honest discussion, what contributes. And, the fact is, in 1974, it was probably the worst year in the city. But there's a sense now it's so prevalent when it was doubly, that's not even English, when it was twice as worse.
Yeah, it was twice as
worse.
bad.
Right.
But
Twice as bad.
No,
but we also talked about parenting. Here's the deal. Police department has a role to, it's going to be most effective if it's trusted. As I always say, if a community wants to, it has to live by a moral code. It can't live by a code of silence if you're going to be a community. But they have to trust the police department. There's no doubt about that. I also want to pick up one strain because I think it's very important. On Friday, I met with 5 kids from Harper High School. Gave them some candy because they've been to the White House. They ran out of candy, so I brought some candy to them. Some of them, 2 of them participating in BAM. Every one of them talking about their college aspiration. You wouldn't know that. I bet you nobody will cover Harper until something bad happens.
Yep.
And these kids were just sitting around. Now, the other piece, I went to the back of the yards and I did my civics class. Every other week I do a class on some piece of history and then Q&A in the back of the yards high school. These kids were learning a lesson. The teacher was, what's power and what's empowerment? What we're doing here is empowering people, as we did the other night when we were all out on the streets across the city. That was an empowering moment where the power comes from the bottom up rather than top down.
Absolutely.
And that has to be remembered, and that's an empowerment. In this instance, is a community coming together to protect itself and understand its own sense of responsibility to every child. We all knew this. If your parents weren't home, weren't out, and the light went on, somebody was on the front porch.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to get back to that and help create an atmosphere. The police department has an essential role to public safety, and part of that role is a trust of the public that they're responsible to and accountable to. And they have, to be honest, Ellen, they have good days and bad days. There are police officers who have incredible rapport in the community, and there are officers that have no relationship, but they work at it, and they have a leadership that knows that it's essential.
Talk about the role of education, and considering that there has been...
How many hours I got?
As long as you want. Considering that there has been some pushback because of closing of certain schools, the issue of charter schools coming in, how can you ask parents who are engaged, involved with their children to, when they feel as though they have been deceived, how do you bring them back into the fold?
Well, first of all, let me say this. In every one of the schools that were consolidated, you know that enrollment and attendance is up, which means that what we worked on safety exactly happened. All the kids, the school that got busted in on the iPads was a consolidated school, so the technology investment we made has actually been there. And the grades are improving. So in fact, the pledges made, and it was not an easy decision. But you know what else happened this year, Evelyn? Every child got universal kindergarten throughout the city of Chicago. Every child, we used to be a city, 20,000 kids, half the children, kindergarten age, would get 2.5 hours a day. A lot of things happened this year, not one thing. A lot of things happened. Now, was there fighting over kindergarten? No. But all 40,000 kids at the age of 5 have a full day of kindergarten now. And my belief, and I know Barbara's belief, kids start dropping out of college in 3rd grade. If you don't get them ready when they're 5 and 3 and 4 years old, by 3rd grade, they're already so far behind, the hill just gets steeper. And so we did some things, very tough, but the kids are in better schools, and we followed through on our commitments. We have to work on it every day. But we also made a pledge. We were no longer going to be a city where half our kids got cheated out of kindergarten, which is what was going on around here. And everybody would wring their hand, and nobody did anything about it. We changed the budget at CPS, and all $25 million went to every 5-year-old across the city of Chicago. And that's how you make sure you get a better graduation rate. So a lot of things happen, not all of them bad.
Okay.
And let me say this to the core of your question. Education and parenting. None of us would be in here without two things: love of our parent and the education we strived for. And education is secured, and that's why I'm so proud about the 82% graduation rate. Every challenge the city faces that we're talking about on violence, and every opportunity that the city has, like to the kids at Harper, that 82% will answer. No child walking across the graduation getting a diploma this June is not thinking about it tomorrow. And if you're thinking about tomorrow, you're not going to be involved in violence because you got a future to be looking forward to.
So what's our next step? We're doing these things. We're talking about what's not right.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting plans. Everyone here is working on how to try to fix it. What's next?
Well, July 4th. Well, first of all, I'm going to be very proud about this. Tomorrow, and again, this I don't know if it was covered, I put my weight behind it in my office. Every juvenile who got arrested but had a minor offense, not violent, the record now is automatically expunged. So when they go off to try to apply for college, they go to apply for a job, they don't have a minor misdemeanor, and it's not even a misdemeanor, hanging on their neck. Because you get through the interview, and they said, what happened? You got arrested? I said, well, that was great. Thanks very much. And they passed you on.
Right.
We passed it. It's been sitting around. 20,000 kids, minor arrests. 400 used to apply to get the record clear.
Wow.
This thing will now automatically, 16,000. Clean slate. They can apply for grants, scholarships, and jobs. They made a mistake, we're not going to hang it on their neck. That's a big difference. That's next, and that's tomorrow morning. And we're calling on the governor. I know the governor is going to sign it. But we're finally getting that done. Every other big cities had it. We used to make kids apply, and the first thing they learned at 16 was how to hire a lawyer. That was not what the lesson you want to teach them. And this is going to give them a clean bill of health so they can get a job. The next thing, July 4th, the Friday before that weekend, everybody, and I want to see triple the size. We had over 200 places of worship. I want to see triple the size, minimum, all over the city, mainly in our communities affected by gun violence, out in front of the churches, marching, barbecues, building that sense of community that we can make a difference on our streets.
Yep. Can I just piggyback on the mayor on that?
Absolutely, but I think, Mayor, you have to go.
No, but he's going to say something nice. I'm going to hang for 2 minutes
Okay,
more.
there you go.
No, I just
I don't know.
I can take
I don't
the
know if
steam
it
up
is or
here
not.
for 2 more minutes.
no, I just want to say
He's just tired of me asking him questions. That's all that is.
No, I was really encouraged by that, and I want people to understand what happened 2 Fridays ago.
Oh,
We
yeah.
had people at over 200 locations, like
Yeah.
the mayor said, throughout the city. I was at St. Sabina. The mayor's wife was there. There were like maybe 400 people out there. They were getting fed. They were having a good time. Just imagine if you just came out of your household
Yep.
on a regular basis and just stood out on your block and congregated on your block. The thing is that we're giving our block up to criminals and gangbangers who want to do us harm. Imagine if we all came out of our houses. We can't be nervous about coming out and enjoying our community. We have to make them nervous because they're not going to do anything on the block if there's 100 people standing out there. You know what I'm saying? So after that Friday night, we had 42 hours without anybody getting shot in Chicago. Imagine if we just continued to come out of our houses and congregate on our own block.
And double that number, because I went to
triple
two
it.
different locations. I actually just missed you, Mayor, 63rd and Vernon. I went to 57th Street too, two different locations. And, you know, at the first location I went to, it was, you know, a nice crowd, but it could have been more, especially in that area that has been crime-ridden. I want to see more people come out and support this.
The other thing that happened too is that the actual criminals, the ones that's creating the violence and different things, they got involved. At least at the Cliffside, I mean, they were out feeding and brought their children, and I think that's the thing that it does. It gives more of a community approach and a community sense, and so they feel more comfortable when we feel comfortable with them around.
Absolutely,
right, exactly.
And then also, I want to say this: when media leaves, that doesn't mean you leave. You know, stick around and continue to support the whole thing through, from, you know, the time that we kick off the prayer, the march, and everything.
It's your block.
It's your block. Yeah. Why not? You know.
And Evelyn, can I just tell
absolutely.
a quick story?
Sure.
So, and I'm talking about it because Frankie hit on it. She said a lot of times we're scared, or we're scared to embrace the youth.
Right.
We took a group of 30 young men from, in partnership with the Mankind Project, from Chicago, Washington Park area. These are BDs and GDs who are rival gang members.
Right.
We took them to Wisconsin for a retreat. We dealt with some of the issues that they've been dealing with all their lives. Nobody's ever talked to them about it. So you don't know why the young man is acting out. Maybe he's been physically abused, sexually abused. Maybe he grew up in a house where something happened, but he never had a chance to talk to anyone about it. We took them to Wisconsin on a Friday evening, stayed until Sunday afternoon, did a series of activities. Before we left that Sunday, these 30 young men, gang bangers, hated each other on the way down there, wouldn't even talk to each other on the bus. On the way back, now they're brothers, hanging out, saying, when we go back to the community, this is what we're going to do. So I think it's key if we can get the adults comfortable with talking to these young people, not talking at these young people. I think we'll see a tremendous change.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, the mayor had to go, but that gives us an opportunity to discuss more and to open our phone lines. You can call 866-594-HOPE. That's 866-594-4673. We'd love to hear what you have to say, what you think, what your experiences are, and what you have to contribute to this conversation, because I think what the focus of this really is not necessarily, I don't want to say solving a problem, because I don't think we're going to reinvent the wheel in 2 hours.
Right.
But I do think that there can be a positive, honest, open conversation about the violence that plagues black communities. I have had folks say to me more than once, why don't you see Latino gangs blowing up each other like this and shooting anybody? Why not?
Yeah, Joe, why not?
Well,
Wow.
They out there.
But it happens.
They're doing it.
It happens again, I'm from 26th Street, Little Village. We've had gang problems.
But not to the same degree. You see what I'm saying? Not to the
No,
same
but it does happen, though, Evelyn. It does. Maybe not to the same degree. And guess what? For whatever reason, and Mike hit on this, the distribution of news is different.
That's right.
They're going to go in certain communities and always talk about negativity, you know? And unfortunately, you know, working on an urban radio station, firsthand, and I was part of GCI for many years as well. I've heard these stories for years and years, but it does happen in other communities as well, not as much as it does in the communities we're talking about.
Because you see that, and part of the reason why I mentioned that was because I think there's a perception that it's happening over here and not over here.
Okay.
See, so you know, maybe what needs to happen as well is, what about the coalition building that shares that information? What do you think? I mean, or do we need to clean our, so to speak, like my grandmother used to say, clean your own house before you start going to somebody else's?
Well, I think, of course, it's sensationalism. I mean, it's what's going on, and it's stemming basically in these specific areas. So, of course, the media is going to go where the action is.
Right.
You know, they're going to focus on Inglewood. They're going to focus on Roseland.
That's true.
They're going to focus on Chatham, because that's where it's happening at. If it was happening in Little Village like that, if it was happening in certain other areas or communities, that's where they would be at. It's all about sensationalism.
And the artists. You got Chief Keef, you got those different artists that come from that
Absolutely.
community that's talking about the communities as well.
And you know what? Tony made a great point earlier about how the stories that rappers tell shouldn't eclipse the stories that your parents are telling at home. But at the same time, rap is about telling stories, right? So these rappers who have violent lifestyles, have violent stories, they should be able to tell their stories. But are we championing the same rappers or different rappers who have different stories to tell? Do they still get a platform? Or is it not, if it's not popping right now, is that not what some of the stations are able to play, or do they not get the push from the record labels? We have to talk about a lot of things about different stories in hip hop. And I want all of those stories to be told because they're all our stories.
And I think you bring up a really great point, is that I think a lot of folks, and we've done the stories, I've done them myself. A lot of people will stand in front of the radio station and, crack CDs and talk about whatever, which is no issue. Everybody got to express themselves the way they got to express themselves. But talk about the role of record companies, broadcast entities, and what their responsibility is. Because, see, if there's a market for it, it's like a crack dealer. If I can find somebody who wants to buy some crack, hey, I'm going, they're going to sell it.
Right, exactly.
Well,
if you look at it, we hadn't had a real movement in Chicago as far as hip hop being popular for years. And the first time that it really happened, it centered around drill music, which is music that, promotes, I got to be real, promotes murder and promotes gangbanging. So, we have to also ask, why is it that out of all the talented artists in Chicago, all of the people that have different stories to tell, that when a major comes here, that's the first thing that they pick up. You know what I'm saying? So after that happens, now everybody who sees that happening is going, well, I got to make drill music because that's the music that's getting signed right now. There are so many people. We have great artists in the city of Chicago. My partner here, co-host of the morning show, Leon Rogers, is here. We move around and we see so many different artists, so many different stories being told, so many different youth with different stories and different potential. And to me, it's just, I think that we need to do better. We can definitely do better as far as promoting a more broad look at what our life really is in this city.
And I agree with you too, Tony. When you have an artist like Chief Keef who's given a $4 million deal, and then you have another artist like Chance the Rapper, who I'm sure did not get a $4 million deal.
He's still independent right now.
Right. You understand what I'm saying?
But he chose to stay independent as well.
Yeah, he did.
Right, but I'm just saying, you got to look at the record label as well. And then, too, let me just say this. Like Tony said earlier, every generation has had music that has been violent. We watch violence on TV. There was Rambo. There was all kinds of movies that came out.
Video games.
Yeah, video games. You didn't go out and shoot up somebody because of that, because it was what your parents instilled in you as far as knowing what's real and what's not. Absolutely. I'm not going to listen to a song and be incited to go out and kill people. It's about the mind state. And then again, it's a whole culture that goes along with that. It's the drugs, it's the music, it's everything.
Let's listen. Let's get some other folks, some callers involved. Let's. Is that Alan from Chicago? Hi, Alan. You there? Hello, Alan. Turn your radio down.
Oh yeah, how you doing?
Okay. Hey, Alan. It's Evelyn. How you doing?
All right.
Okay. Yeah. Make sure you turn your radio down, darling. Okay.
Oh yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Not a problem. Not a problem. But you say that you wanted to contribute what? What did you want to say?
Oh yes, I was saying that I believe that to slow some of this gun violence down. If they try to work on taking the bullets and the guns out the stores, that I believe that'll stop a lot of it. Really?
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a good thought. I mean, just for factual sake, a lot of the guns that are being trafficked are not being trafficked legally. There are a lot of folks that have FOID cards. If they're walking into a legalized gun shop, they are buying those cards. They have their identification. They've gone taking classes. A lot of these folks that are peddling these guns are doing that out of the back of a trunk of a car along some interstate. Right. And then what they're doing is they're pulling up their floorboards and leaving them down there until it's time to move on to the next thing. So I understand exactly what you're saying. I think a lot of folks, and I want you all to, the panel here, these folks to jump in. I think a lot of what the concern is that people are saying, well, look, if the guns are an issue, but it's not by legal gun owners. These are people that aren't following the rules. So how do we address that?
I mean, what can we do when a freight train stops in Inglewood
Right.
Like, what is it?
And
Freight train
13
stopped.
AKs are stolen.
Hey, just happened to be going through Inglewood, and all of a sudden, well, all our AKs are missing. Oh, they're in the streets. Saying, like, we all heard that story. I listened to all the stations, you know, and every jock in this room just, you know, you just throw your hands up because then it's at the point where it's like, okay, it's bigger than just us. Like, that's not an accident. Nobody sitting on this panel, I think, feels like, oh, just some AKs just happened to come up. And then you talk to people that work for the railroad, and they're like, oh, those things can't happen in that type of a situation. There must be some kind. Nobody wants to sit here and be a conspiracy theorist, but when AKs disappear in Inglewood, and there's already a problem in Chicago with guns, you start to
bring in bigger guns.
Let's get some bigger guns in the street.
Let's hear what Lionel has to say from Cal Park. Hey, Lionel, how you doing? You have a solution for youth violence?
Yes, this is Lionel Garrett. I was calling in.
Go ahead, Lionel. What do you want to say?
Yes, I was basically saying, all it starts with the music that our kids listen to. Starts with society today. I think if the music will stop all this basically disrespecting our women and basically all this shooting and whatnot, we wouldn't have to worry about all of this. And in schools, hello?
I'm listening to you. Go right ahead. We're listening.
here,
We're listening. So you're saying music and what's going on in the schools?
Yes, what's going on at the schools, like little kids bringing in guns and stuff. We need to get more of that. Because my kids, they go to a white school. Because I took them out of the Chicago public school.
They got guns there too, Lionel. They got guns there too.
Remember Columbine?
I was just and a lot of other stuff, believe me. A lot of other stuff.
And basically, they need to bring back more music into the school. We need to learn about Black history. We don't even have history inside our school systems anymore.
Well, you know,
I want to know why is that.
I think that's a good point, but I think someone, and maybe Lionel Rogers, who's from GCI, who's joining us as well.
Leon.
I'm sorry, Leon.
Leon.
Listen, I don't have my glasses. I've got these glasses there. I'm like looking over there.
Sound the same.
See, I'm trying to look sexy.
Well, you doing it.
Good job.
You
I
are.
was sexy. So
Listen,
I'm trying to do this.
Listen, young lady, I'd rather you get my name wrong than one of them. So
but what I want you to see now you feel Lulu, yes.
Amen.
Hey, Larry,
right
how you doing, Larry?
No,
okay.
Leonard.
Okay, Lionel. Yes. Talk about just deal with the issue of maybe some of these issues like Black history, learning about history. What role does the community play in us teaching our own history to our children? Why are we waiting for someone else to do it?
Well, the problem, and I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack for this out here in the streets where we move around, but the problem with the generation of today is if it didn't happen while they were alive, it didn't happen.
Right.
They have a real tough time of following roots and culture. And that's partially on us as elder statesmen in the community, but when you try to teach it to them, it doesn't matter. For example, we come from an era where we saw Michael Jordan play, but we also know as fans of basketball that there was Oscar Robertson, that there was Bill Russell, that there was Will Chamberlain. The history of basketball and LeBron James and Kevin Durant are the future. But that's not to say we don't have a valid opinion about Michael Jordan. When you talk to the youngins out there, they like, nah, it's all about LeBron. They choose not to even go back and look at Michael Jordan, look at Oscar Robinson, because all they want to focus on is the now. So we could teach Black history in school, but let's be honest. You know, we just spoke at Crane the other day. How many of them are going to listen? Everybody's so cool. Everybody's so swagged out. Nobody wants to be the lame. Nobody wants to be the one that steps up and say, hey, hearing about Crispus Attucks is interesting. Wow, I just said that. How many people going to go Google it? They're not, because they don't care. So it's kind of like it's a catch-22. And I just feel for the brother about the music, that's so minuscule in this big thing. Because I can Ghetto Boys, NWA, 3 6 Mafia. We had all that growing up. But my father used to do random room sweeps. My mother would do random room sweeps.
Yes, that's
so
right.
That's not happening now because you have a mother who's 16 16 years older than that child,
Right.
and she's smoking marijuana with him.
Yeah.
She's doing scissor with him. So now you can't turn around and
Right.
tell him how to be. And that kid, if he's out selling dope or she's out selling dope, they're probably taking care of every bill in the house.
Right.
So they're actually
Leon-
running the crib.
Leon, let's listen to Nicole's on the line. Nicole, what do you have to add? What do you think about it? Nicole?
Nicole?
Hello.
Yeah, Nicole, go ahead. What do you have to add? What do you think about what Leon just said? Okay, well, we lost her. Nikki? Nikki, you there?
Nikki, it's on the phone lines.
you're
Nikki.
on. Nikki.
Hi.
Hi, Nikki, you called. What do you have to add?
Okay, so my first comment had to deal with when you guys were speaking about education. I think that it's great that a lot of new schools are being established in Chicago and that children are going to them. But I think that one issue that we need to tackle is not what school they're going to, but what we're teaching them in the school. I feel like a lot of African American youth, they're miseducated, very miseducated, and that leads to them being misguided. I think that we don't see a lot of positive role models in the community, and we don't learn about a lot of positive role models that we have already had. I also think that a lot of solutions to the problems that we're having in the community, they have already been solved, but we're so unconscious of what's going on in the community that our mind, it can't comprehend that these solutions have already been written for us. They don't teach us about Marcus Garvey in school. They don't teach us about Fred Hampton. They don't teach us about Eldridge Cleaver. They don't teach us about Assata Shakur. They don't teach us about these things. So we don't know that a lot of these things have already happened to us. Like you said, there was violence a long time ago. This has already happened. But we don't know that we have the resources to go and find out how to fix them.
Okay.
So that was my one comment.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank
That
you
was
so
tough.
much.
Good
That was
stuff.
great. Thank you. Teresa, you want to say something about neighborhood killings. Teresa, you're on the line.
Hello.
Yes, Teresa, you're on the line. You want to say something about neighborhood killings.
Hello.
Hi, Teresa. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Great, great. What did you want to add?
Well, it's not actually a question. It's more of a statement.
Okay, go right ahead.
I live a half block from a young man he was killed last night in front of the church, a half block from my home. And, when I put who he was with the name, I realized that I've been seeing this young man for years. And I never see him, in trouble or bothering anyone or causing any kind of, problems. He was a young man who was he did a lot of videos, he shot a lot of people who were trying to promote a musical career videos. And, it was just senseless that he would be slain. And from what I understand, a word on the street is a video. And somebody said something about somebody, it's just senseless that a person's life would be cut down. I was actually thinking about going to the store with my 5-year-old when I heard 3 gunshots ring out, And I had been contemplating going out, and then what's even worse, I had threw out a lampshade that I wanted, and I was contemplating going into the alley to retrieve it, and I understand this was the escape route for the people who shot him.
Wow.
All this was happening right around the time that I'm contemplating, and it just breaks my heart to know that, young people are being cut down senselessly, from he say, she say, or I don't like the way you look, or, and then when I see these people standing out with this young man, he would be shooting videos, and it would be so wonderful if they could realize that you can do this, but through different avenues, education. I heard the mayor talking about how education is the key, and it is the key. I am
Absolutely.
a nursing student.
Yes.
I worked my way up. Even if you don't have a high school diploma, you can start with a GED.
All right.
And from there you can graduate on further to excel. If you already have a high school diploma, there is grants out there. Anyone with a high school diploma can get into college.
Teresa, I love what you're saying. I don't want to cut you off, but I certainly want to get as many people in on this as we possibly can, so I really appreciate you calling. Thank you so much. Let's go to Bishop Don Juan on line 1. You're calling from
all the way from Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Tabernacle.
Bishop.
How are you, sir?
Hey, green for the money and gold is still for the honey.
What's happening next?
And I'm about to get fired.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Hey, so y'all got the debate. I'm glad to be able to be a part of this. You know, I heard that y'all have many debates over there in Chicago.
Yes.
But one thing about it is, anybody from Chicago know that, talk is cheap. Action always speak louder than words in Chicago. So all of them different debates, either somebody that left the meeting, wasn't walking that walk, and didn't talk that talk. So obviously, when the meeting was over, it seemed that the violence continued to escalate. So what I think, if it's okay for me just to, put my 3 cents in to give my opinion, is because I'm very concerned about the city. I mean, I'm not there as much as I used to be, but I'm still a native there. I got driver's license, you know what I mean? I'm still insured there. My license
Okay. All right.
Chicago, so I'm a Chicago native.
Okay.
But what I think need to be did is, first, we need to strengthen the family economy. And how we do that is we go back to our old landmark. Even I was a product of this, where they create summer jobs for the teens that take a little pressure off the parents, because the teens have a chance to make a few dollars to be able to do for himself, and at the same time he's learning how to be able to deal with money, live bank accounts and things.
Right.
See, I used to work in the NYC job for $67, during the summertime.
Yes,
that
Bishop.
helped. That took pressure off my mama, kept me out of trouble.
And I appreciate that. I don't want to cut you off, Bishop, but I just have to make sure we get everybody in. But I understand it's about self-empowerment and learning a skill and being able to support yourself. That's wonderful. LaQuisha on line 2, you wanted to talk about the killings and neighborhood killings and the slayings.
Yes, ma'am.
Go right ahead.
I live around the community where India Martin was shot. She lives the next block over where her family did. And, I feel like our community, it's a lot of drugs, and it's a lot of judgment, too. And, it's gangs over here.
What do you mean by a lot of judgment?
Like people need to let people live.
What do you mean by a lot of judgment?
Excuse me?
What do you mean by a lot of judgment? Explain that.
Well, I mean, drug addicts, rather, maybe I need to rephrase that. Drug addicts. And they breaking in people's homes, and, we all struggling. I live in, I don't know, this was not Inglewood. I believe this is Bridgeport. And we all struggling. If I live in a community, just because I'm doing better doesn't mean that, it's better in my home. I'm struggling as well.
Right.
My gas bill is maybe as high as, yours. My gas may be cut off. I mean, people need to mind their business, stop being judgmental.
Okay. Thank you for adding that. Thank you so much. Let's move to line 3. Pessa, is that right? Am I pronouncing that right?
Hi there.
Hi. What do you want to add?
I just wanted to question I'm interested to hear when Mayor Emanuel is going to, kind of establish programs that are going to help curb some of the gun violence in Chicago. I hear him supporting grassroots movements like, the No Violence over Memorial Day, but I didn't hear him taking any accountability for school closings or for even his own police department.
Well, I know that he's no longer here, so I don't want to speak for him, obviously. But but he addressed the issue of the accountability of police or credibility of police, and I think he answered a couple questions about education. But that's a good point. That's a good point. Thank you so much for that. Steve, or is it Keisha? I'm sorry. Let's go to Keisha on line 4.
Keisha, you're on.
Keisha, turn your radio down.
Hello?
Yes, Keisha, you're on. You want to talk about gun violence?
Yes. My outlook on gun violence is, with the fact that everybody thinks it's because of music, it's not necessarily because of music. People are naive, and they're accustomed to, and they suck into what everybody else is saying, what everybody else is doing. No one wants to be individual and think on their own, do their own.
Right.
It's like, if you change music now, it's not going to really change too much anyway. It's too tragic now to even go back and try to fix what's already done.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Steve, you wanted to talk about how kids are becoming parents, and that's part of the problem?
Yes. Absolutely.
So you're saying that teens are having babies giving birth to babies. You can't teach what you don't know.
Absolutely. And there's a difference between being a mother and a father, and then there is a parent. A big difference. Anybody can be a mom or a dad, but it takes a big person to be a parent, because now you really do care when you become a parent. You know what's going on in your home. It starts in the home. I don't know of a teenager out there, a male teenager out there that has a condo or an apartment or a mortgage in their names. Where do they go at night to lay their heads?
Right.
There has to be some female in the house or male that knows what's going on, so they condone that. I think Tony said that they're okay with it now because this young kid is stepping in, becoming the father, 17, 18, selling drugs. He's bringing money in, so mama's being quiet, big mama being quiet, baby girl being quiet. No, that's got to stop.
Yes, okay.
Somebody's got to step up and become a parent, not mom, not dad, but a parent.
Yep. I just wanted to piggyback on that because, my mom, there was no secrets in her house. I mean, she checked on us. And to the parents out there, you should know, you maybe not are going to be able to know everything that your child is doing, but you should know what they're capable of. You should know who they're hanging out with.
You know what, Tony? I tell my children, I am not your friend. I love you. I peel my skin off for you. Do anything in the world for you. I kill a brick, but I am not your friend. My job is to parent and to do what is right for you. And it's not a question of whether you like it or not.
Right. And sometimes the signs are there. I mean, if you see a group of guys hanging out at your house, your son is hanging out with the same group of guys that got on the same colors all the time, and they're hanging in the same areas, you can pretty much, surmise that they may be, something's not right. My mom wouldn't allow me. I couldn't bring anything in her household that she knows she didn't purchase. So if your child is coming in with items and belongings that you didn't purchase, where are they getting the money from? Where are they getting this stuff from?
You got to step up.
I mean, at some point we have to open our eyes and say, hey, the signs are there. Let's recognize them and let's step to our children and say, hey, yo, what's going on? Can I help you out? You may be in some trouble right now that you can't get out of. What can I do to help you out?
Talk to me. That's right. That's right. Roland, what did you want to add? Roland on line, what is that, 5, 6?
Yes, hello?
Go ahead. Hey, Roland, how you doing?
I'm all right.
Go right ahead. What did you want to add?
I wanted to add because it's not the parents, it's the organization. You know what I'm saying? Just like when the president, the mayor allowed these schools to close down, but you sending kids that's GDs over there where Vice Lords at, knowing that ain't no black kid gonna go to school, ain't no black kid in the GD neighborhood gonna go over there where Vice Lords if they're in war. You know what I'm saying? So he knew what he was doing. That's how I feel. And far as the other aspect of it is.
But hold on 1 second. Just answer a question. Why do you think? What is the purpose behind that?
The purpose behind that was to get the kids so they wouldn't have to be shipped to Schaumburg and up there where all the rich kids had to keep the kids from the neighborhood going to these suburb schools. That was the purpose.
Leon,
I can feel where you're coming from to a certain extent, brother. But at the end of the day, more that I look at it and I'm out on these streets, there is no protocol in the organizations anymore. There ain't even organizations no more. It's about blocks and it's clicks. So that's why the only reason I have a problem with that statement, because I see BDs hanging with GDs because they live on the same block and they don't like the guys that live 2 blocks down from them.
GDs
so
GDs.
That's not an organizational thing anymore. That's a clique thing. And even in the music, and real quick, I'm gonna drop this. I kind of want to stop calling these guys rappers or hip hop artists that put personal issues in their music.
Yes.
You're not a rapper. You're giving threats out over beats, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. It's just like with the great Tupac. When he was making music, one of the greatest artists of our time, but there was a time in his career where he got personal with Biggie. And you could feel the animosity and the anger and the hatred in his voice. And this is what we're hearing right now. These guys are not making music. They're calling out names. Tony S. 69th, I'm shooting your mama. You can't say that to somebody and not expect somebody to catch you lacking on 71st one day when you at McDonald's. It's gonna happen. So to me, I don't call these guys rappers. They making threats over beats, and until they start making music, I won't honor them as such. But the whole organization thing, that there's been no protocol since all the chiefs.
There's no code.
That's gone. That's gone.
This is another point I want to make too. If these so-called gangbangers or gang members, if they look at what's going on, I am good friends on both sides of the fence with Amina Newfort, who is Jeff Ford's daughter, and Larry Hoover. I grew up with him, Larry Hoover Jr. You can read letters from these men They do not condone this.
No.
This is not what it's about. This is not what it's about. You got GDs fighting GDs 2 blocks over, like Leon was saying, in my mom's neighborhood in Chatham. That's why all the killing is going on right now. They warring against each other. It's ridiculous. So there is no organization in the organization.
Right. Doogie, what did you want to add? Doogie.
Hello.
Yeah.
Doogie, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Teach me how to do your name.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how you
doing? A few things. First, I think y'all laughing is kind of like not taking it seriously on the air. I wish you wouldn't really laugh. But here's the thing. Okay. First off, I got so many examples on how to slow the violence. I need everybody to go look on Facebook for Choose to Change movement. It's real ways to slow the violence. Choose.
All right. Well, we have lost Doogie. I guess we lost that line. Let's go to Brian. Brian, what did you want to add? You say that you think mentoring programs are a way to stop the violence?
Hello?
Yes, go right ahead.
Evelyn, how are you? This is Brian from the barbershop.
Oh, hey, Brian. Brian cuts my hair.
All right.
Good job, Brian.
And a good job you do, Brian.
Let's not laugh about that.
Yeah, let's not laugh.
Yeah,
Might get in
see,
trouble.
this is serious.
Hey, Brian, what did you want to say?
So my take on it, I believe that there's a lack of true fathers, and there's a breakdown in the family structure. I'll never forget what one kid told me. He was saying that as a barber, we have an advantage to hear a lot of stories and hear a lot of even confessions and things from the kids that they won't even tell their pastors, their mothers, their fathers, and so we have a direct line into their lives to speak something to their lives. And some of these kids, I even teach them a trade. So I think that more mentors that can even help economically empower these kids and kind of like switch out what the drug dealer can do and what the gangs can do for the kids will be a lot more productive.
Good
and
point.
even take some of these kids off the streets.
Good point. Good point. Thank you.
Emily, can I piggyback off
Sure.
that?
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Domity here. So we talk about this daily on WVON, and we often have there seems to be a disconnect between what the younger generation and the older generation are talking about. We talk about mentor programs. Frankie said it earlier. The older generation is scared of these young brothers and sisters. So how can we begin to mentor them if you're scared to even approach them? I mean, how many times do we see these brothers on 87th and Dan Ryan playing the buckets for some money so they can earn a positive, find a positive way to get some money for themselves? How many times are we stopping and putting some money in their pocket?
I do it all the time.
Thank you.
I agree.
You see what I'm saying? I was so scared of them.
But I say this though too. When I drive up and I see them on Stony on 95th playing the bucket, and he's 16, why you not in school?
Why you not in school?
I don't care. It ain't time to make no money.
And that's
why
the
you
thing.
not in school?
And we need
homie?
to have that conversation
And
with
I'm-
brother.
right.
Why you not in school?
Why you not in school?
I'm gonna give you a dub, but also, how can I get you in school? What is it that you need?
What you
and we're
need
not
is
talking
that-
to these brothers.
This is a great point. But
That is a
again,
great
you have
point.
to come up with creative ways to engage them. If you don't have a creative way to engage a young person, they don't want to hear nothing you have to say.
Yeah.
That's true.
At Clio on Tuesday nights, and then I'll get right back to you. On Tuesday nights, we partner with the organization called Lyric. Let Your Rhymes Inspire Creativity.
Very familiar with
Man,
that.
we get 150 young people every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. to midnight. And I'm talking about those who come straight from the streets to Clio to engage in this type of activity. But what it allows them to do is to express themselves in their own way, and now they're bringing other people in. We get people busing folks in from Wisconsin, all over all over the state,
Nice.
just to get close to the open mic. So you got to come up with creative things like that in order to engage the kids. And once you engage them like that, now you can teach them the Black history.
That's right.
You can teach
Yeah.
them about Bible history, not just Black history, but go back to the biblical days where before they were enslaved.
Place
And
setting.
once you
Right.
start doing
Right.
those things, now
Right.
they have that self-esteem that they
And
need.
as we talk about the music and the culture in that atmosphere, it's cool to be intelligent. It's cool to
That's
write
right.
conscious
That's
music.
right.
And we need to change that dynamic. And I'm not saying that it all lies within the music. I don't want to be misunderstood. It's there's nothing a rapper can say that will change somebody's life in one verse. But at the same time, we need to change what becomes normal and create a new normal and a new balance in
A
the
new
music.
normal.
And Lyric and what you're doing does that.
That's
Take
true.
love
That's
and-
true. We are.
Berwyn, Chicago. WVAZ, Oak Park, Chicago. WSRB FM, Lansing, Chicago. WYRB, Genoa, Rockford, DeKalb. WPWX FM, Hammond, Chicago. And WGCI FM, Chicago. Welcome back to the Sunday Night One Mic. Put the guns down. We're taking your calls, seeking solutions to gun violence at 866-594-4673. That's 866-594-4673. Here's the host for the evening, ABC 7's Evelyn Holmes.
This is. You were listening to Sunday Night Open Mic. We are talking about the citywide violence prevention initiative, Put the Guns Down. The number, 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. We want you to call in. We want you to talk about your experiences, your thoughts, and how we solve this problem. I'm ABC 7's Evelyn Holmes. Let's go right to the phone lines. Let's go to, I think Nicole been waiting. Nicole, you there?
Hello.
Hey,
yes.
Nicole, you called back. We lost you before. What do you want to add?
Say that again.
Go ahead, Nicole. What do you want to add?
I wanted to talk about solutions to solving the issues of violence. I had 3 quick comments about how to create peace, a balance.
Go on.
Go right
Nicole.
ahead. Go ahead, Nicole.
I'm on already?
Yes, you are, darling. Go right ahead.
Okay, how you doing? My name is Nicole. It was 3 quick comments I wanted to talk about is that when you need to create balance, okay, we have the radio stations, but the radio stations is only playing one particular type of music. You need to balance it out with different types of music, not just one type of music. Because on one hand, you say, put the guns down, but the next 5 minutes, you're playing drill music for the next 30 to 40 minutes. But can we put a balance and you play different other types
Nicole,
of
let's
music?
get a response. Hang on. Listen right now.
Yes, I just want to say I get that all the time. This is Tony Schofield. I get that all the time about, the music that we play. This is where the parents come in. When my kids were young, they listened to all of the music that was out there that had drop this, drop that, and do this and do that. But me as a parent, I introduced them to different music. I introduced them to Nas, to Common. One of my daughter's favorite songs growing up was a song called Black Skin by Goody Mob, where the words say, "You are my sister, lover, and friend. God is your light from within, and it shines through your beautiful skin." Yeah. They sang that every day in the car. So I think where the radio stations may fall short, it's up to you as a parent to get involved in what your children are listening to and what messages are coming forth, and involve your own message as well. I mean, you can't let the radio raise your children. I'm sorry. You can't let the TV or the video games raise your children. You have to step in at some point and put a message out there that would ring louder than what they're hearing in the environment.
And again, it always goes back to the parenting, because if you instill in your child, because we play, it's supply and demand. People want to hear this. This is not just something that we just was like, okay, one day we decide to play this type of music. They want to hear this
and
music.
they're listening to it, whether you
play it or not. It's all on the internet. It's everywhere. So when it goes back to, again, what Tony said, I'm going to piggyback, it goes back to parenting. Because, again, when I'm in my car, I play different kinds of music. My son is 16. One of his favorite rappers is Kendrick Lamar. You understand what I'm saying? And it goes back to what you instill in your child. It's stuff on TV. Yeah. Look at TV. Yep. TV is just as bad.
I'm probably the oldest one on this panel, and I'm a Goodfellas, Godfather guy.
Yes, there you go.
But my parents understood the difference. I mean, I can't speak on Kendrick Lamar because I don't even know who these cats are. I'll be very sincere with you. All right? This is Joe Soto.
I'll put you on, Joe. Don't worry about
I mean, I'm sure they're very talented, and I'm not saying anything negative about it. But guess what? The older generation, the same thing. Frankie and everybody else has said parenting 10 times. That's what it's about. Now, Tori, you made something really cool about the Wisconsin Dells. You got to have mentors in the community, guys.
That's right.
And exposure.
You got to have social centers, and if you don't have
exposure
that, you
to
have to
different
find
things.
it on your own.
That's right.
Nobody's going to give you nothing, man. You go and get it, but get the good stuff, not the bad stuff.
And let's talk about this too. That the other issue is that I think many kids or many people get into situations because they're not having their needs met. I mean, very basic needs. So whoever's meeting the need is the direction that they're going. And you see, I don't know if anyone can really hear you if you're hungry. Okay, as you alluded to before, and Leon alluded to, if you got a situation going on in your household and no one's listening to that, to you, how can I talk to you about? Well, you need to get them grades up, and you need to see. You worried about going home and being abused, or what you might find at home, or is there any food there? See, that's real talk. See,
it's key that right now the initiative is called Faith in Action. So the thing that Tony was talking about, the thing that every Friday where you have the people on the block. But the other thing that Faith in Action is doing is getting churches to come outside the four walls.
Right.
Far too often, church was inside the four walls. No, it's in the community. And so in the area that we serve, crime has gone down in that particular area drastically because we have those mentors who are ex-offenders themselves, who can connect to the young people.
Right.
How are you going to talk to me about crime and going to jail and what it's like if you've never been there? So we try to reach out to those people who have backgrounds but who now have a passion for working with young people.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to, is it Avisha? Am I pronouncing that right? Avisha? All right, let's move on. Lisa, you there? Lisa, you want to talk about lack of love in the streets? Lisa.
Yes, it's Lisa.
Yeah,
Hi.
go right ahead, Lisa. How are you?
I'm good. Listen, I am hearing a lot of this messages, information about the problems. We know what the problems are. We know what you may do and what the next person may do, what I may have done as a parent. But I have to recognize and realize that most of these children that are out here doing these things don't have a parent. So, to say you have to control what goes on in your home, that your parents have to make sure the children listen to the right thing in the car, we turn on this, we turn on. They're not in the car with their parents. They're not in the home with their parents.
Yeah, but can I be honest?
That is why, look, and I'm saying this because you all really cut that last lady off. She did have a good point, but about the music, and I understand the supply and demand and what have you. But at some point, we have to take a responsibility as adults, and there's a fine line between adults and children, unfortunately. Because when it's not our own children sometimes, we don't take that responsibility.
And that's
we don't
that
have
goes
that
to the
village.
The village raising a child theory.
We don't have that village like we did at one time. So let me just say this, and I'm going to move on.
Okay.
The message, put down the guns. When I heard that, I said, okay, we got all this airspace. We have all these listeners. We have all this potential. And the message is put down the guns. We got to get a different message. I think we need to get a message to let these people know we love you. How can we express love to each and one of them each and every one of them that we see? Can you all come up with, or help us come up with a message that you can put on the radio and say, tell the young man with his pants down. Tell the young lady who's on the street cussing and fussing and smoking and drinking. Just a message of love, or something that's going to make them feel better or feel love, something that they may not have felt at all, because they don't have the parents in the house. They ain't in the house with the parents. They're on the street. They're not in the car with the parents. So we can talk about, well, my parents did this and my parents did. That's not what this is about. It's not about those times. It's about different times. Which are times for us
Leon,
now.
what did you want to add to that?
And I totally respect that opinion, and she has a very valid point. A lot of these young people are living with grandmothers. They're living with aunties. They're living with great uncles and aunts that really can't police them like they should be policed. But let's go back to the village raising a child theory. Don't think there are some people out there that care about children outside of their intermediate family.
Right.
But how many times, I got friends right now that are teachers in the Chicago public school system. They call a parent or they call whoever is taking care of that child to say, hey, your child has missed 25 days of school in the month of February. And you know what that person who they live with comes up and cusses them out. So how can the village help raise the child when the people that live in the intermediate household with that child, they circle the wagons. They circle the wagons around him. You know, well, what are you doing to him? We've heard it too many times before. So I think we do have some people that want to get back to mentality, and it goes back into the scared thing. But when you have the adult in the house that's willing to cuss you out, don't say nothing to my baby. Now what?
Well,
What can I do?
we understand that is just going to be a part of the problem, and it is what it is. So what I feel like what we do as DJs and personalities is we take on the village part, because I can't sit here and worry about the bad parents and the bad grandmamas and the bad whatever. Shout out to Dina Everidge, who's the principal over Wentworth Elementary in Inglewood. In the entire month of June, May, they did 300 Black Men, where
we were a part of that.
Yeah. So many people came out, 300 Black men just came in to mentor at that school. And those are the things, that's the beginning. That's where we start. It's like, Frankie talking about going out and being in the streets, this whole put the guns down thing that we feel kind of maybe sort of helped stop the violence for 42 hours. Like, as long as we keep doing those things, I do agree with the callers when you say, all that parent, we know that the parents aren't in those situations. So what we are going to do and what we should do is just continue to help build that village, go out, speak at these schools, be mentors, be big brothers and big sisters, so they can have, because some of the, even at Wentworth, some of the 7th and 8th graders, they're gone already. They're lost. There's nothing that we can do. And Miss Everidge said that. She's like, I need y'all to talk to my babies. Talk to the ones that haven't been convinced, that haven't gone over. So that whatever, I said, whatever you need us to do, that's what we're going to do. And that's what we continue to do.
Not just that. You don't necessarily need a platform to do this. If I'm driving in my car, my mother would tell you, my son will tell you, if I see something, I say something. I don't care where I'm at. If I'm driving in my car, if I'm in a grocery store, if I'm in a gas station, and I see something, if I see a young lady who's dressed inappropriately, I let her know. If I saw you in a nurse's uniform, I think you were a nurse. If I saw you with blue on, I think you was a police officer. Look at your uniform, sweetheart. Look at what you displaying yourself. And that's how I bring it to him. If I see a young man that's disrespecting himself or somewhere else, I immediately bring it to their attention. That's my job.
Right. Contrary to popular belief, we don't get off the radio and go home and close our doors.
Right.
Me and Leon are in probably 2 schools a week. We get out here, we're on the streets. We're not just playing the music and going home. And that's what we're trying to get the community to understand, that it doesn't necessarily take a parent, but it takes somebody. It's somebody's job.
Yes.
A lot of people are telling me, well, why are you saying put the guns down? Put the guns down. Because I have a microphone that a lot of people are listening to me, and it is my duty to say, put the guns down. It's my duty to step in where I see parents are not, readily available. And I'm not sitting here like Mike said, blaming people for not being parents or whatever, but where there's no parenting, there needs to be a community or a village stepping in.
That's right.
It's everybody's responsibility.
Well, and you know what? I think, Tony, what needs to be understood as well is that all of you who are here tonight are not talking because you have read this in a book.
No.
This is part of your life. This is part of that. These are the experiences that you've had that have helped form you and pressed you into the individual that you are. So you speak from a place of knowledge, intimate knowledge. So it's not as though this is preachy. It's not meant to be that way. It's meant what you are doing is you are sharing some of your experiences.
I feel like as members of the media, I've always said this, it's our job to educate, entertain, inform, and uplift.
And see, I see it
right now, we're educating and uplifting. That's the part of my job that I love. I'm tired of informing people about somebody dying every day. Like, I understand how police officers or EMTs feel when they see violence and they got to go home with that. When I go home and look at my kids, I'm like, I don't know what I would do if I got a phone call that you got shot because you was sitting in McDonald's eating and somebody drove by shooting at somebody else in the street.
Minding your own business. It happens a lot. Yes. For those of you who are just joining us, we are. You have joined Sunday Night Open Mic. We're addressing the citywide violence prevention initiative, Put the Guns Down, and just talking about how we cure this, how we grow, how we heal, how we move forward in trying to get back, reclaim our communities. Lisha, you're on the line. You have something to add about you are a single parent and you're struggling. Is that what it says?
Yes, I said I'm 31, single parent, trying to raise a 16-year-old.
You got to turn that radio down in the back, sweetie.
I'm sorry. And I want to say I really appreciate what you all are taking the time to do. If don't nobody else appreciate it, I do. And I'm trying to reach out to figure out how can I help my son. It's like he went to sleep, a young man playing football, active, honor student, and he woke up gang banging. He want to be a rapper, and I asked him, what happened? How can I help you? When he said, well, Mom, I was playing football with some kids that stay on 71st on the opposite side. And they said, well, you stay on the other side. We should just shoot you right now. And these were 12-year-olds. And I said, well, why didn't you tell me, or who did you go to? He said, I went to my uncles, which were my younger brothers who have experience with gangbanging. No, and instead of them approaching and helping the situation, he said that they started hanging out. The uncle started hanging out with the enemy, so he immediately had to join the gang to feel safe. And he didn't want to get hurt. He wanted to be protected. And all the time, it's the peer pressure that he's being led by. And my concern is, how can I reach out? I went to the football coaches and said, I need help as a single parent. There wasn't no father in my life. His father was killed. I need help. It went from, oh, well, let me take you out on a date, instead of being reason for my son. So my call is serious. My call is crying out for help, because I don't want to lose my son. And Frankie, like you said, I was young. I was 15 having a baby. Nobody raised me. But once somebody did get a hold of me and prayed with me and showed me it's a way out, it's like, now, is it too late for my son to see that?
No, it's not too late for him, and you don't give up, because it's not too late for you either.
Can we get her information, or you give her numbers, please?
Do you have a pen? You can write the number to the center down. It's called the Cleo, KLEO Center. The number is 773-363-6941. And the
I'm sorry,
and maybe they put her on hold and just give it to you.
Because I want to talk to her.
Yeah, why don't we just put her on hold and get her the number, the right number? That way she can write it down and she has it.
I hate the pain in that young lady.
Oh, absolutely. You hear it.
It broke my heart.
Disturbed right now, man.
And the thing is, she's trying. She's doing all the right things. And not getting that's where, a lot of people don't like to talk about it, about God and faith and the church and things like that. But see, it's those moments when faith kicks in. Absolutely. Because when everything in front of you says that this is the end, this is it, it's not working, it's the faith that you have that says, you know what, I don't care what it looks like, I don't care what it feels like, I don't care what I'm hearing out of somebody's mouth.
That's right.
God is, and He will always be, and I will be the victor.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, and I would like to talk to her too from a mom's perspective.
Absolutely.
Maybe I can help her with some stuff.
She needs the support.
And as far as people calling and telling us about us addressing the parenting thing, we have to. When I have a little slick way of doing things. When I'm hosting in the clubs, I always stop the music and shouts out to where my ladies at who take care of their kids, who pay their own. It's a small way of empowering people and making them feel good about doing the right thing,
and that they're not alone,
and that this is okay.
But
it's okay to not put people in front of your children and pay attention to them.
And what you do in those clubs, and even her phone call, in a lot of ways, lets us know, as we talk about a village, we are the village, and we are these, whether we want to admit it or not, we are these kids' uncles, uncles, aunties, and everything. So we are part of that parenting and what that looks like. So what they get from us, the stories that I put out, I'm probably the youngest person on this panel. I'm still connected to.
No, I'm younger than you.
And I'm going to say that I'm younger than you.
Okay. I'm the oldest person on this panel.
There you go. Sorry,
Joe.
Joe.
People that I'm reporting on, I know these brothers, I know their mothers, I know they. Right. So they hearing it, and they're literally texting me and saying, "Did that really just happen?" So everything we say, everything we do on the air connects directly to someone. So we can't just write it off and say that we're not part of the village, even when we're just doing our job.
Absolutely.
But let's be honest. We hate looking in the mirror. We hate looking in the mirror and having culpability. We hate looking in the mirror.
For some people, the R word, responsibility, is horrible.
Oh, absolutely.
Let me give the number, because we're getting a lot of good conversation here, and I think people are really beginning to feel comfortable enough to really talk truth, to deal with the reality. 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. Let us go to, AC. You've been hanging out for a while. AC, go right ahead. AC, are you there? Alrighty,
Hello?
let's move on. Oh, yeah, hey, who's this? AC?
This is AC, yeah.
Go right ahead, AC, you're on.
Yes, I just wanted to say, piggyback off what the other young lady said about responsibility and accountability. It's not enough
to put it on the children per se, because you can't say that the children are a problem at the same time I take accountability for the reason that the children are in the situation or have the mindset that they have, because with that they're being criminalized. They're being criminalized. They're in lack, they're showing that by acting out in violence to the extent that they don't have any value over life. These are kids that are fighting for basic needs. This is for a home, for food. They are struggling on a survivalist basis, and putting their worth in alcohol, putting their worth in sex, putting their worth in these things, drugs that cause them to act out and behave in this way, because there's no value for them to see, there's no value for them to grasp. And I want to encourage any of these young people that are listening that have no positive images or have no way of getting that empowerment to feel good about themselves. Just know that the anger and all of that frustration that's inside of you is there for a reason. It's because that's your cue to let you know that you're doing the wrong thing.
Okay.
And that there is a better way. I chose at a young age to seek God. I chose to seek self-knowledge that helped me in a way that I was able to focus my mind on positive things and growth versus the negativity and the state of lack that I was in, the state of neglect that I was receiving in my community. You can't even be positive
Yes, I
anymore,
understand that.
without being ridiculed in some situations, or have goals and ambitions that are outside of what is considered the norm in the community. And that's terrible because...
Yeah, it is. It is. AC, I don't want to cut you off, but I know we've got a lot of other folks who want to piggyback off of what you said. We've got phone lines that are truly lighting up. Remember the phone number, 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. Let's go to Brenda. Brenda, you've been holding for a while. What did you want to add about the music influence and the responsibility of parents?
Well, I'm just bothered by everyone just putting the blame on music. I, as a child, was told what's right and what's wrong. And just because I listen to music or watch a movie where someone's being killed or they're talking drugs and violence, I was taught by my parents what's right and what's wrong.
But you had parents, right?
I'm sorry?
I said you have parents, and I think what people have been adding is that not everyone has. We've been fortunate enough to have someone to guide us. Not everybody has that, and so we're trying to figure out how we fill that void. What do you think? How do you think we can fill the void for folks that don't have the blessings that you and I may have?
Well, I don't think that you should bring a child into this world or take the responsibility of caring for a child if you're not prepared for it. I'm 31 and have no kids. The lady that was just talking, she's 31 and has a 16-year-old kid. Where's the responsibility? I know I'm not ready for a child.
Let's not be judgmental, though.
I mean, she's speaking from her personal experience, I think. So.
Well, and a valid point. She's saying be responsible and be realistic about your level of responsibility, but at the same time,
there's people on both sides of the fence.
But things happen. But things happen.
Yeah, she said the young lady also said she didn't have anyone to instill that in her.
And you have to respect the fact that she is stepping up and trying to raise her son the right way. So we appreciate those comments. Deb, what did you have to say about gang influence in the community?
Deb, you're on.
Okay, Deb is gone. Nita, you want to talk about some curfew? Is this Deb or Nita? This is Nita. Curfew laws. You say we need to change curfew laws?
Yes.
How so?
Well, I just really feel that we need to enforce the curfew law because the kids be hanging out on the corner past. I know WGCI announces sometimes, where your kids are, but the Chicago police don't enforce it.
I agree. Yeah.
That's what I feel. They don't enforce it a lot, and not even just in the nighttime, in the daytime as well. They need to be vigilant as well, just as we need to be vigilant as well to know what's going on with the kids. And that's my opinion. I just really feel that they should just.
When we had the meeting with the mayor, that was something that I addressed about it being a curfew. Right. And the mayor said that we had a curfew, and I said, well, I don't think that we knew there was a curfew in place.
Frankie, do you think that parents ought to be held accountable with fines or jail time based on the fact that their kids are not following the curfew laws? They don't know where their children are? What do you think?
I think to a certain degree. I think
yes, 100%.
I think yes.
100%. Yes.
I think yes, because I have, like I said, I've been going to do events at 12 o'clock at night. Kids are just out hanging around.
Yep.
You definitely need to set a time when your kids should be in the house. And if they're not in the house, you need to go looking for them. And if the police pick them up because of curfew violation, then so be it.
Let me, but can I?
Sure, Leon, go ahead.
Play fair. I got a lot of buddies who work.
Or devil's advocate.
Yeah, they work for Chicago's finest, CPD.
Okay.
And I've asked them about this before, personally, sitting down having personal conversations, and they say, Leon, it's a catch-22 for us. We can go out here and round up all these 13, 14, 15-year-olds for curfew, go back to the station, do 2.5 hours of paperwork. We're not on the street.
Exactly.
We're not on the street. Then when something really happens, okay, well, we was rounding up all your people who were out after 10:30. Meanwhile, there was a drug deal going down over on the next corner by older guys who don't apply to the curfew law. So they said it's a catch-22 for them. Do they say, hey, y'all, go in the house. If we roll around here again, we got you. Or do they just take them right there and get off the street?
Parental responsibility, as well as the community centers and the community itself. If you outside and maybe it's not your kid, but you know that it's past curfew, you need to tell that kid to go home.
It's 8:30. Do you know your children are? It's a mandatory curfew law for kids under 12.
And perhaps they can have a certain division or certain police officers who are just situated in the station can deal with that. But it definitely needs to be addressed because I see it all too often. I'm on the west side a lot in K-Town and that area.
All right, Frank. I knew I liked you for a reason.
Wow. And I see, it was amazing to me. One day I just was driving and paid attention to how many groups of kids, and I mean kids, 12, 13, 14, 15, were just out. Just out 12 o'clock at night.
I was on the way to church. Is today Sunday? Yeah, this morning. I'm on my way to church.
You working too hard, brother.
Just a little bit, and I'm a pastor. At 9 a.m., and it had to be 15, 16 years old, standing on the corner, drinking in broad daylight. So again,
without fear of any retribution.
And people driving by, nobody stopped, nobody
said nothing.
Except for me.
Yeah. And you know what else, too? If you notice, these kids, you have to look at their faces. It shows. These children look angry. They look either they're mad all the time.
They're in pain.
Or they're in pain.
They're in pain.
So we need to step up to the plate and help these kids.
Latasha, are you on? You there, Latasha?
Yes, I am.
Yes, go right ahead. What do you want to add? We want to make sure we get as many people in. Go ahead.
I wanted to let everybody know that I had lost a cousin in 2011, and ever since then I've been doing a Stop the Violence parade on the West Side, but it's not just for the West Side, it's for the whole city of Chicago to come out and be reminded that we can't have a day of peace and a day of unity, and also know that there is hope even after this has happened, and to just basically come together and stop it from happening. So every April, I do that, and I've been doing it for 3 years now.
Good for you. Yeah. Good for you. Thank you so much. Glalisha, is that it? Go ahead. Talk about, you say there's some kind of parent responsibility, especially for younger parents?
Yes. I just wanted to ask a question. I know we talked about what the solutions are as far as parents and education at home, but, given that some of the parents of this population that is doing this violent behavior don't have the education or necessarily the parenting skills to be able to do it on their own. So where do we go from there? How do we expect them to be able to turn it around if they don't know how to turn it around?
Yeah, that's I guess
that's
and that's
a very valid point.
Right, absolutely, and that's we've always said you can't teach what you don't know, and you also mimic what you see many times, whether you realize it or not. Brooke, what did you want to add? You're talking about gun violence. That have you been a victim or you know a victim?
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead. You've been a victim?
Yes. I've been a victim emotionally.
Okay.
I wouldn't say, physically. I'm still here.
Yes.
But my boyfriend died in front of me when I was 17, and it was from gang violence.
And how did that affect you?
It's been tough. That was when I was very young, and I didn't know that things could do that to you emotionally or whatever, and then I had to get counseling, and now I know it started there. And I just want to say that you know, I am the victim of random gang violence, and it has tormented me, and for a while I have gotten better. And I just want to say that I hope that everybody understands my testimony and they get better at about the way they treat one another, and just stop. I mean, I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. And it's been a journey for me. I've had to, you know, go to, I mean, this is crazy. Like, I went to his gravestone, and he doesn't even have a gravestone, actually. And I went to the graveyard, and it's 17 years later, and he still doesn't have a gravestone. It's just nuts.
Tori, what do you want to add?
I just want to say, she experienced this 17 years ago, and it still affects her today. Just think about all of these young boys and girls who experience this every day and get no help, no counseling or anything. And so that contributes to the retaliation and the ongoing cycle of violence. So we have to continue to give these young people help.
I was doing a story somewhere, and someone said to me, you know, we always talk about veterans, you know, Iraq War veterans, folks coming home from Afghanistan, and the treatment that they receive because of the extreme emotional distress that they're under. So isn't it interesting that we don't have that for kids that are trying to cross gang lines just to get to school and what they see every day?
Or kids who have lost, like, you know, 5 of their classmates in a single school year. That kid is affected for the rest of their life.
You know, counseling is something that, as a community,
mental health is an issue.
Is an issue with us in the black community.
Yeah, because it could be better for the veterans too.
No doubt, absolutely, no
no
doubt. But I understand what you're saying. There is a stigma,
It's
a negative stigma to it.
Yeah,
and
that it's not okay. That
you're crazy.
It's negative. You're crazy. Trust me, I've been to a counselor or two.
And that's why you got to come up with creative ways to do counseling without calling it counseling.
Right. To let people know it's okay. It's okay to be in pain. It's okay to express that. You have to release that. That's
and reach out to your church. They have a lot of churches, and I know you can identify with this, Pastor. They have a lot of programs in place where you can come and talk to someone for free, and it's confidential. You know, that's another thing. People don't want it to get out into the community.
That's right. Hakeem, what did you want to add about music? Hakeem, turn your radio down.
Hello?
Yes, Hakeem, go ahead. What did you want to add about negative and positive influences in music?
I feel like it all depends on the rappers that they listen to, but I also feel like it's the music industry itself. These record labels and companies, they steady bringing in all these rappers that's talking about, you know, that's making the drill music and making songs about sex and killing and money and all that. And that's what all these kids are listening to. So that's, you know, I don't know, man.
Well, that's
like
where you need someone to tell them that it's entertainment. Remember, it's still entertainment.
That's right.
Records, movies, television, you need mentors, even if you don't have parents. You got to tell these kids, you know, this is an entertainment form.
Yeah, that's definitely true, because all the kids around here in my neighborhood, I stay in the south suburbs, and I heard a kid yesterday say King Louis is the best rapper out. I'm like, man, you don't even have a clue.
Yeah.
So
you speak from your experience, though, isn't it interesting?
Shout out to King L, though. He a good brother. I'm not finna tear down any of these guys.
And I don't think that's what we're doing.
He is open about you know, talking, and youngsters gonna like who they gonna like.
Right.
You can't stop that.
Right.
Like
I think
Q-Tip
Hakeem's
said.
point was that remember you dealt with the history issue. They don't understand the history, and that everybody's where they are because somebody else walked that before, so they can be there. And that's where the acknowledgement needs to be.
It's understandable, though. You know, the kids are going to ride with them. Leon and I are Cub fans. We can't tell you who the guys were on the team in the 1940s.
But I love them,
Daryl, you wanted to talk about the involvement of women, how important women are in the strength of community. Talk about that.
Speak on it.
I'm here.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Daryl.
My solution is to get our women involved.
Yes.
We got to get the mothers, the grandmothers, the aunts. The women are burying the children who are the victims and perpetrators. Yes. They're burying the children. They're getting their hearts broken. Our men are not effective. They're not respected. The youngsters don't listen to them. If one of your panelists said how she tries to check the young men and women if they're out of pocket or not doing something correctly.
Right.
The men, on the other hand, if they try to check one of the youngsters, they'll come back with, "Shut up, old man, else I'll bust a cap in your behind."
Mm-hmm.
So the men are rendered effective through the use of drugs and alcohol, incarceration, feminization, just a host of problems. They're not respected. The sons, I was going to say just sons, but it's the sons and girls now, is a case a couple of weeks ago where the young 2 14-year-olds, girls. At any rate,
right.
the sons and the mothers have a very bond, a strong bond versus the fathers and the sons. You see the football players, they make a play, they put it on them. He mouths, "Hi, Mom." Kevin Durant, the most valuable player, he mentions his mom. The mothers and the sons. Now we need the mothers to get out there on the Harriet Tubmans, the Ida B. Wells, the Rosa Parks. We got to get the mothers involved. Get the marches. Get the united front, which will maybe help to get some of the men who are scared to say something to protect their women. My wife is out there. I got to get out there and help too. Okay. We need to get our money.
Daryl, thank you so much.
Nice. Can I piggyback on that?
Sure, go right ahead.
I think the young ladies in high school, the teens, they also play a big part in it. It's just like when you go to a club. You don't see fellas dance till you see ladies dance. Yeah. When ladies get out on the floor, fellas get on the floor. If these young ladies say, "Hey, I'm not going to date you, I'm not going to sit up here and talk to you if you out here on this nonsense," I guarantee you a lot of these brothers will be like, "Hey,
but they're not doing that.
I like Shirley. I want to go hang out over Shirley's house, but she ain't going if I'm out here, tossing it up with y'all." And I think it can start there too. The young ladies can make a great movement by not even hanging out with these guys and being called thoughts and all that. If you allow that to happen, then what?
Right. Well, we're having this conversation, Sunday Night Open Mic. We're addressing the citywide violence prevention initiative, Put the Guns Down, and talking about a lot of other issues in the community that have plagued our community and continue to. The number, if you want to call in and join the conversation, 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. But let's go right to Nicole, who had an interesting comment about the need for more children's programs.
Yeah.
Go right ahead. Yes, Nicole, go right ahead.
I really think we need an outlet for these kids. Like, I'm trying to do a nonprofit organization called What Your Heart Desires. Because no matter what we say, all kids have something that they want to do from a little kid, whether it's acting, playing ball, or something like that. And if we can offer this, because if you think about it, a lot of these kids come from households with parents on drugs or struggling. They can't afford to buy that. They can't afford to pay for studio time to get them into a program, basketball, or don't care. So if we can provide something for them that would allow them to channel that energy somewhere else, and something that they like, and have things like you must have at least a C grade point average. You can't come in here drunk and high. You can't. I believe that would take them off the street, at least 2 to 3 of them off the street. That would save the kids, keep them from going to jail, winding up dead. We need to do that. These rich people, these athletes, and these movie stars, they can fund. They can come and help us.
Absolutely.
Donate some of their time, if nothing else. So, show them how they got this. Because you have kids that want to rap. A lot of these little boys out here, they be rapping. They might be talking about drug dealing, gang banging. We would say, that's not what you're going to do. You can say where you coming from and, seeing what you're seeing in the street. But it would be criteria you have to meet in your program. You have to have a good grade point average. You have to be in school. And if you're not, we can help you get in school.
Yeah, but also, Nicole, can I say that also we also have to realize there are other occupations other than being a rapper or an athlete. And a lot of times, our children are not interested in being anything that's not going to be.
But they're not exposed either.
Right. And I think that that's what we need to do. We need to say, hey, man, okay, you want to be the rapper, but what about being a studio engineer? What about being, it may not be the guy out in the front and the guy that's going to get the camera time and the accolades, but you can be a studio engineer for 50 years and work with every artist. So I think that we need to expose them to more opportunities in other occupations.
Create some programming around that.
And we need to face the challenge with them. Like, my daughter will come home with some homework that I ain't seen in 30 years. But to sit there and go through that struggle with her, whether I'm her dad or not, like if I'm just a guy in the neighborhood and be like, okay, you're not getting this engineering stuff, let me sit down and be done with you. Let you know that I'm just like you. I don't get it neither.
That's right.
But I'm
We're
not
gonna
going to
learn
give up.
together.
And I'm not going to get frustrated and go out here and release my frustration on somebody because I don't get it. Let's go through the struggle with them. Let's go through the challenges with
But
them.
how can we create a paradigm shift in the culture to where I don't feel like a lame because I want to be a studio engineer and I don't want to be, and that's not something
Show
I'm
them a
saying
studio
that this whole panel
engineer.
can do.
Show them a studio engineer house. A Northview.
Yeah.
Exactly, mixed by Ali, Rick Rubin. You can name them.
Right.
But
Think about
we
it.
need to
Danny
do...
Leak.
Absolutely.
Think about the TV shows, MTV Cribs. They only showed you athletes and
Only
rappers.
showed
Go
athletes.
show them a doctor's house. Show them a lawyer's house. You know what I'm saying? Show them an entrepreneur's house, a business owner's
Show
house.
him Frankie's house.
Show them Frankie's house.
Show them a garbage. Show them a garbage man.
Show 'em a
house.
garbage
Some
man's
cities
house.
make up to 65, 70,000.
But not even that. Just, I think that there's a disconnect with, I'm going to be honest, when I was a kid, I loved Dr. J. I loved all of the athletes on TV, but I never saw them on my block.
Right.
But my good friend, Tremel Adams, his father, I worked for the CTA.
Yeah.
Came home every day, got out the car in his uniform. I wanted to be him because I'm like, that man got a job, he got a nice car, he comes home every day. So all of our heroes can't be people who are on TV, who are rich. I mean, what is rich? Rich is a mindset to me.
Rich
It's
is
not-
being
Stephen
liquid.
A. Stephen
Rich
A.
is being liquid.
Stephen
Rich
A.
is having
Smith.
good credit. That's rich.
Stephen A. Smith said it best. He said guys like LeBron James, Derrick Rose, Kobe Bryant, they are special. Michael Jordan, they are special. That's what they were put here to do. Those guys who are make Jay-Z special, Eminem special, all these multimillionaires doing that, they were put here to do that. He said himself, he was the American dream. Raised by a single mom, went to high school, went to college. They didn't have a journalism course there, but he still graduated with honors, top of his class, got a job at the New York Post, then got a job at the Philadelphia Inquirer. That's the American dream. Hard work, dedication, and determination. It wasn't given to him that he was going to be this super athlete or this rapper.
And the other part of it is that I think we have to address too, and then we'll get to Mel, but we have to address too this culture that we're in, a culture of entitlement. You see, when we were coming up, you understood you had to work hard and nothing was given. Nothing, you just didn't just walk in and say, well, where is it? Because
nothing comes
you had
free in
you,
life.
and anything
Nothing.
worth
I hear
having
it
is
all
worth
the time.
working for. So because I think sometimes because of technology and because of the culture we're in, where everything is moving so fast, if it doesn't happen in 3 seconds, then okay, I quit because it's too
Microwave
hard.
society.
So we
I
have to
hear it all
start.
the
We
time.
have to start
It's the
kind of rewiring ourselves
Yeah.
Right.
to understand the investment, the long haul. It's not the sprinter that gets it.
It's the marathon.
one.
That's right.
That's right. Long, steady, slow, dependable, reliable.
Heat that
That's
food
what
up in
gets
the
it.
oven and
But you
not
know
the
what?
microwave.
There you
But
go.
you know what, Evelyn? I say it all the time. I get rappers, young aspiring rappers who come to me, Frankie, I want to get my song played on the radio. Well, do you know how radio works? First of all, I explained to them, when Jay-Z, Tupac, Biggie came up, there was no internet. You guys got more of a jump start than anybody. You can go on the internet and find out how to get your record played. They don't know the first thing. First thing they want to do is, I want to get my record played.
But you know those
they don't
guys
want to
that
put
you
in
mentioned?
any work.
Those guys you mentioned, they were hustles. That's
Yeah,
where they are where they are now.
exactly. They
Because
worked
they
hard.
understood
When they-
look, whatever you had to do. And see, when I went to school, I worked 3 jobs.
Amen.
Me
But
too.
how do we use our platforms to even tell that longer story? I hear it in every interview that you guys
I
do,
do
and
it.
y'all do it well. Y'all do it well when y'all have these artists on to say, yo, people think you blew up overnight, but tell us more about how you really got to where you are.
I
And
do
you
it.
allow them to tell those stories.
I
And when
keep it 100,
And in
though.
the media world, when I pick random stories from different neighborhoods, and I go out there and I take those stories, and I take a doctor and say, what is it that you've done, and how can I make this into a story on VON? So can we create segments, or can we create just a little something where we show people that it's a marathon and not a sprint? How can we do that
Absolutely.
rather beyond this
I
conversation?
do it all the time. When I go
and
to
you
the
guys
high
do it.
schools, I tell them
You're-
how I
you're
had
doing
to
it now.
work.
We have to
I
make a
had
commitment to.
yeah,
We have to
I
make
had
a commitment
work.
to do it.
I keep it real with
And then
them.
the other part is we have to know about those things too.
Right.
And some of it
Yeah.
is that if you can't report on what you don't know about.
That's right.
You're doing it.
So we need to be
Absolutely.
talking. Mel, let's hear what you have to say today about jail time for parents or being fined about when their kids are out beyond curfew.
Mel, you're right.
Mel, you there?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm
go right,
here.
Go right ahead.
Okay, you guys had touched on it a little earlier, about 15 minutes ago, and my perspective is the fact that, again, those
people and parents who are out here having children who aren't abiding by the laws and regulations that are put in place, they should be faced with some sort of fine or experience some type of penalty. And I believe that a lot of this stuff will begin to stop if the parents were hit, or even the guardians. Because I know that we've understood throughout the entire segment that not everybody is fortunate enough to have caring parents, but at the same time, I believe that if the parents were hit by the judicial system, something would definitely spark a nerve with them to really straighten up their acts and do what they need to do as parents.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree with her.
I would like to say that I'm not for any enactment of any more what I like to call black laws. Laws that are going to put more black people behind bars. I think that things need to start with, Leon said it, the police, they already got their hands full. I think when you start enacting laws that are like, now you're, in the city of Chicago, it's like, well, man, like the lawmakers might be listening. Right? They might be listening right now. Like, you know something? That's a good idea. We need just another reason to be in your pocket, just another reason to put more people behind bars. I think that there's always different solutions, but for me personally, I don't like anything that's just telling people like, okay, now we're going to put you in jail because your kid, because that's going to happen. Because it's like, oh, okay, we'll go straight to them. We'll lock them up, and now you got more black folks in jail.
I say tickets and boot lists.
I say tickets and fines, and then I think after a certain amount of time, like if your kid, I think it should be like the same thing, a third, three strikes and you out.
Okay.
If
Absolutely,
you get a
they're finding
warning.
shorties.
Yeah, you get a warning. I think they should get a written warning, or when the parents have to come pick them up from out of jail or from being detained from violating curfew. The second time can be a fine, and the third time can be jail time.
But let me ask you a question. What if Shorty is out of pocket? Let's be honest. There's some parents out here that have to work 2 and 3 jobs, and they can't stay at home and monitor the children. And if they're going to go out and do what they're going to do, now you throwing them in.
But those parents will get more creative if they feel held to the fire.
You can also
those parents will get a lot more creative. And I know what you're saying about the black laws, because somebody says, should we fine kids for sagging their pants? That makes no sense.
That's another black law.
That's another black law. But at the same time, we have to force these parents in a lot of situations to give us more community service.
A dog gonna find a way to get out the yard. I don't care how high you make the fence.
That's true, but I'm tired of seeing my dogs getting killed. And if it takes creativity.
That's right. But the issue here is that I hear what you're saying about the black laws. I hear that. But I think what we're really getting at roundabout is just that you want to see the parental responsibility. And there are parents out there that really are trying. But there are some that aren't. We've got less than 15 minutes left. Let's clear up some of these lines. What people have to say, right? Because we got some listeners here. Ashley, what did you want to say? Ashley, go ahead. We're talking about parents neglecting children. Ashley?
Yes.
Yeah, go right ahead. Briefly. What did you want to say?
I just wanted to say that it's all about knowing how to engage with these kids. I myself work as an MHA at a mental health facility, and I don't believe that it's the music. We've been listening to disrespectful music for ages, and I was taught that you listen to music for entertainment, not to learn. You read books to learn. You watch TV for entertainment, not to learn. And what we do at my facility, we engage with these kids. We say, hey, what's your story? What's going on? We deal with kids who are suicidal. I mean, we are living in a society where kids will rather kill themselves than to be who they are. So it's not about really pointing a finger or lecturing them and saying, hey, I did this, I did that, because you cannot teach what they don't know.
Right.
They don't know me from Adam and Eve.
Right.
So it's not about lecturing them and telling them you have to do this. You have to learn how to engage these kids. This is a different total society from where we grew up at. I looked up to people like Cynthia Cooper, WNBA. So I get a lot of kids in my facility who say, they have a career day. What do you want to be when you grow up? They say, I want to go to the NBA. And I always make sure that you have to have a backup plan.
Ashley?
I wanted to go to the WNBA, but I'm working at a facility whereas I didn't make it. So,
well,
you're
making a difference.
You have to learn how to engage, and it's going to start at home.
And you are making a difference.
Hey,
Thank
Ashley,
you for that.
you did make it, Ashley.
Yeah,
you did make it.
And you made a difference. You're making a difference. Jerry, you've been waiting for a while. Go right ahead. What did you want to add about political corruption in all of this?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jerry. Briefly.
Okay. See, my whole thing is a lot of this escalated
from when they tore down them projects over there. They didn't have no plan installed for them people. What I mean by a plan, they should have had some type of counseling classes, education, to let them know where they was going from. Because you had generations and generations of people who grew up in them projects, and that's all they knew was violence. And then once they dropped them off in these suburbs and these surrounding suburbs and everything, the problem with them, they didn't take the time to take them people and educate them and let them know, hey, this is a different environment where you're going, you know, to show them a different way out of where they were. And if you teach somebody how to fish, they can catch fish and they can feed themselves. If you teach them how to cook, they can cook for themselves and not others. They can become a chef, but they didn't have no type of plan. Only thing they wanted to do was get rid of the people, get the land. Now look at it over there in the Brownfield neighborhood. It looks like you up north somewhere. But if you could have did that, the first you could have did that, you could have did it all the time. Only thing you had to do was have a plan for these people. You can't take the lion. You can't take the lion and put them in a lamb den. Because you know what's going to happen.
Alonzo, thank you for that. I don't mean to cut you off, but we got a lot of folks waiting to get on. Nikki, what did you want to add? Nikki.
Educate and let us know. Hey,
Nikki, turn your radio down.
I did.
Okay, go right ahead. Quickly, briefly. We got a lot of folks on. We want to get everybody on. So quickly, something short.
I just wanted to talk about how the police and the community doesn't trust the police, and how do you listen to someone that you don't trust? The kids have to trust you, and they're not going to listen to a parent they don't trust, so let alone a police that they don't trust. And that's why they're killing each other. The young kids are killing the police, and the police are killing the young kids because they don't trust them. They're just, it's some of them that are bad, and you can't tell the good from the bad. So that leaves a big thing lingering in the community.
Okay, thank you for sharing
can I
that.
chime in really quickly?
Absolutely, real quick.
Really quick. The caller earlier said her son was going home from school or something like that. Some 12-year-olds threatened him. She said when he came back, he didn't call the police. He called his uncles. How do we create that trust from the police? I think she made a good point.
Absolutely, no doubt about
That's
it.
fair.
Minister Moore, you're on. You've been waiting for a while. What would you like to add? Hi there. Go ahead, Minister.
Yes, this is Minister Seymour.
Yes, go right ahead. Briefly, we don't have a lot of time, sir. Why don't you make your point?
Okay, what I like to say, I like what Mr. Tony School and you guys are doing. And I think my question is, I know you guys are working hard. I like what you're doing, and you're doing a good job, I just want to say that instead of the police the city giving tickets to the people on their cars all the time, if they would give tickets to the young people in the streets all the time with their pants down, no belts, and standing in the middle of the street, you stop and give them tickets. I think that would be a start, because y'all have done a lot of talking, and people have called in and done a great job tonight, All
right.
That's what I was just thinking,
Thank
you.
Thank
Minister.
you. We appreciate
Thanks,
that.
Minister. Jubilee Traveler. Church. Thank you, Minister.
DJ All Style, what's up?
My question is, I know you guys are working hard. I like what you're doing.
DJ.
And you're doing a good job.
Turn your radio down.
DJ All Style, turn it down. What you want to say? Real quick. Don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
I want to, excuse me, I want to speak on how I felt that if we had an opportunity for a lot of the youth to see other cultures and other countries, and maybe they can appreciate that. They may understand, they may come from areas where there's poverty, maybe poor areas, and they may not have the same fair opportunities, but they see how people really struggle and fight very hard to get to this country. And how fortunate they are to even be here, that maybe it could change their perspective to work really harder to use what they do have. My father comes off of 43rd and State, and he made sure that I understood my family and where I came from, and it made me really work hard. And I didn't truly appreciate it until I left out of this country and started seeing some other third world countries. And I came back here, and I appreciate everything that I have, and I have access to. And I think sometimes we might need to show that to the kids.
I think it's a good point.
Great point.
Thank you.
How realistic is that, though, guys? Just being honest. How realistic is that?
I mean, there are lots of ways to expose people to
'Cause
lots
I
of
didn't
different
see it.
things. There are lots of different ways to expose people to things, but we have to be, we have to provide that access. It's all about access.
When the information
but
is,
access
you can get the
but
information.
access, education gives you access. That's where it is. Alonzo, what did you want to? You're talking about where the gun's coming from? Is that your question?
Hello?
Yes, go right ahead, Alonzo. We don't have a lot of time, so I need you to make it quick and brief.
I was calling because everybody want to say, put the guns down, but nobody's trying to address where the gun's coming from. If you could stop where the gun's coming from, that probably would stop a lot of murders in the city of Chicago. But don't nobody want to hear that. Everybody want to look at all these other different things of what's going on in Chicago, but don't nobody want to address that.
Good point.
Great point.
Somebody got
Great point.
I don't know if that's not being addressed.
We did address it earlier.
I think people are dealing with the very difficult and realistic results of these weapons. I think we know where they're coming from. They're in floorboards all over the south and west side, on the north side, and we know who's shipping them in. We already talked about
hitting a train.
Hitting a train. So we already know where
and
they're coming from.
And then there's the whole right to bear arms thing, too.
Yeah,
that's a whole different discussion.
And in the India Martin case, that was actually a legal gun that was used to kill her. So, it's a multitude of things.
Absolutely. Pat, you're on. Pat, what did you want to talk about? Volunteer? You want to volunteer? Pat? Hello? Yes, go right ahead, Pat. We don't have a lot of time. What do you want to say? You want to volunteer?
Well, I wanted to reach out to the young lady who had called in about her 15-year-old son.
Oh, the 31-year-old with, okay.
And I want to reach out to help her.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we put you on hold and maybe we can get your information and they can pass along however y'all want to do that? Or maybe Frankie can help you with that and you guys can make some kind of connection and
I would love to.
And be supportive of what this young lady's trying to deal with. Mina, you wanted to say what? Mana?
Hi.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I want to call in about the youth as well. I'm actually wanting to say that the youth nowadays don't know any better. Most of them are coming from young parents themselves, and like the parents, like people have said earlier in the show, that the parents nowadays are partying with their children, and it's a horrible thing. And not even an hour ago, as I'm listening to your show, I received a phone call about something that just went on in my mother's neighborhood. A young man was just shot and killed, and he was shot like 4 blocks from my mother's house. Wow. And there's a police station 2 blocks from there. There's a police station 2 blocks from there, and I think the police, when they see gangs going off each other, I think that they sit back and watch it because, as they see it, these are young kids making this mess. But you know what? Instead of being out there to help these young ones, they're out there watching them go through this and letting it happen right under their noses.
Thank you for adding that. I think you made some really, really great points. Tori, what did you want to add?
Yeah, as we close out, Evelyn, I want to challenge Clear Channel and some other organizations. Right now, Bishop talked about it. He said you need summer jobs. Right now, the city of Chicago, through the mayor's office, is giving 22,000 jobs to young people. Last year, he gave out 20,000, and 100% of the young people who had those jobs did not fall victims of violence. And specifically for Clio, we have about 400 who are at risk. These are young men who either are on probation or have been arrested 3 or more times. We hire, train, and place them at work sites throughout the city to gain work experience. And so as Tony and Leon were talking about, the engineers and people behind the scenes, can we partner with Clear Channels? Can we partner with other organizations to place these kids at least for a period of 8 weeks? We'll pay them. We'll hire, we'll train them, but then we place them at that work site to get that work experience. And I think things like that, if we continue to do that, now you have a young person who wanted to be a rapper, but now because he had a summer job being an engineer, he now wants to be an engineer.
Yes. We need to, we're about out of time. What I want everyone to do is one sentence very quickly about how we move forward. Leon, real quick, one sentence.
Stop the Chirac BS.
Okay. Tori.
If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Get involved.
If you don't have a parent, find a mentor. The parents and mentors will work together. And, if we can only save a few of you, it's better than saving none of you.
Okay.
Absolutely. Listen to WVU on 1690. Not a shameless plug, but in fact, we talk about this every single day. And we need more young people to chime in with their perspective because it's you we're talking about. We need to talk to you and with you and not just at you.
All of our opinions matter. Let's keep talking about it. Let's keep the dialogue going because the more that we talk about it, the more that we can come to a solution. And there's no argument that's not a good argument.
Even though in a lot of media outlets, a lot of negativity is being shared, let's go down our timelines. Let's share positive stories. Let's continue to push positivity.
That's right.
The more positivity we push, the more we'll see in our lives.
Good point. That's good.
Positivity, prayer, peace, empowerment.
All right. That is wonderful. Well, I agree with everyone here that I think we've made some some good strides, good conversation, been very open and receptive, been very honest about our communities and where we are, how we're trying to deal with the violence that plagues our communities. This Sunday night open mic, I think this is fabulous. I think it's a great opportunity to have the conversations, to have lots of different voices from lots of different people and lots of different perspectives. And the one thing I love so much about this is that everyone, not just the panel, but the folks that were calling in, were open and receptive. They listened. It wasn't an opportunity to, I start talking when your mouth closes. I'm actually listening to what you say, whether I agree with it or not, but I'm listening to it and I'm appreciative and open to it. And I want to tell you all, thank you for allowing me to participate in this. I was truly humbled and honored to be here, to be a part, to think that I would have something to contribute. And I wanted to tell all the folks that called in and are listening, thank you for the support as well, because the truth of the matter is we're here for you because of you.
And we all learned something.
And we all learn something.
And let's continue to talk in the barbershop, in the hair salons, at the card tables, when we're sitting outside on the porch. Even if you're sitting on your porch having that 40, let's continue to talk out there too, man. Don't let it stop right here.
Don't be afraid of these kids.
No.
Don't be afraid of us. If you need us,
we're here.
We're here for you.
We're here.
And much love to all of you for listening to us. We love you back.
Thank you so much. This is Sunday Night Open Mic, addressing the citywide violence preventative initiative. Put the guns down. Thank you so much for listening. Put them down.
Put the guns down, Chicago.
Talk to you later.
Shot 10.
This has been the Sunday Night One Mic. Put the guns down. Tune in to these same stations Sunday, July 6th from 7 to 9 p.m. for the next installment. Thanks for listening. The views expressed in the preceding program are not necessarily those of the participating radio stations, participants, or sponsors.
WSRB Lansing, Chicago. WYRB HD Channel 2, Genoa, Rockford, DeKalb. Soul 106.3.